Okay, so welcome everyone to the SNAP at Farmers Market webinar on incentives. Today we're going to hear from Daniel Klein, who works in the Retailer Management and Issuance branch in the Retailer Policy and Management Division with SNAP here at FNS. So go ahead and take it away, Daniel.
Hi, this is Daniel Klein. Thank you for introducing me, Jackie. So we can go ahead and get started. Offering incentives is directly impacted by the equal treatment provision in SNAP regulations, which so at 7 CFR 278.2b and 7 CFR 274.7f, there is a requirement that SNAP recipients or customers paying with SNAP receive treatment equal to that received by other customers using other forms of payment methods at all retail food stores that are authorized to participate in SNAP. The only exception is that sales tax may not be charged on eligible food purchased with SNAP benefits. So this equal treatment provision in the SNAP regulations prohibits negative or discriminatory practices, but it also prohibits preferential treatment, and this is how it impacts incentive programs. So in order to offer an incentive program at a retail food store, what is needed is a waiver of equal treatment. Now, under certain regulations, FNS is empowered to waive some of the regulatory requirements associated with SNAP, and this includes the equal treatment provision, only when it would result in a more efficient and effective administration of the program. So waivers can be requested by any retailer. They must be requested in writing, and they must be directed to SNAP Retailer Policy and Management Division, Retailer Management and Issuance Branch, which is my branch. So when such waivers are approved, they will specify limits, such as time limits, expiration, justification for the waiver, restrictions, a very clear, detailed implementation plan, the desired impacts, and the methods of evaluation. And an important thing to know with waivers of equal treatment is that these, for incentive programs, is that these are approved and denied at the discretion of FNS based on whether or not they would improve the administration of the program. And I would say these are not all that common overall. Okay, we can move on. It is also important to note that we have a very specific cutaway for farmers markets, and that is a 2010 farmers market blanket waiver. So this is Policy Memorandum 2010-05, was issued in February of 2010, and it's still in effect. This waiver applies to all SNAP authorized farmers markets, and it allows farmers markets to use scrip or tokens, which is through the standard centralized point-of-sale model that many of you are familiar with for SNAP authorized farmers markets. But it also allows farmers markets that are SNAP authorized to incentivize fruit and vegetable purchases for SNAP recipients. And this is using third-party funds from other organizations. Participating farmers markets, i.e. farmers markets that are offering these incentives on fruits and vegetables, are required to provide FNS with any reports on such programs that are required by the funding organization. Other than that, there's no waiver request process. It's more just notify FNS that you are a farmer's market, you are offering incentives, provide us with the reports you are providing to your funding organization, and you're good to go. And the reason we have put this blanket waiver in place is because farmers markets are a great venue to help encourage healthy lifestyle choices through the purchase of fresh fruits and vegetables, as you all know. Okay. So now we're going to briefly talk about the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Grant Program, or Finney. This is something that I work extensively on. I'm the primary SNAP policy liaison for Finney at FNS. So this program was created by the 2014 Farm Bill, or the Agricultural Act of 2014, and the intent is to incentivize the purchase of fruits and vegetables by SNAP recipients. This grant program is collaboratively administered by FNS, my organization, as well as NIFA, which is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, which is another agency of the USDA. You can go to the next. So the origin of Finney comes from a pilot program that was mandated by the 2008 Farm Bill. And this is called the Healthy Incentives Pilot, or HIP, which the intent of HIP was to increase the consumption of fruits and vegetables by SNAP recipients through incentives at the point of sale. Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, received funding and ran the pilot in Hampton County from 2011 to 2012, and 7,500 SNAP participants were involved. The way HIP worked is for every dollar spent in SNAP on fruits and vegetables, participants would receive 30 cents back directly onto their EBT card, up to $60 a month per household. The result of HIP was that fruit and vegetable consumption increased by an average of 1/5 of a cup a day, which is 25% higher fruit and vegetable consumption than the control group, and it brought participants 17% closer to meeting the USDA's healthy eating guidelines. And there you have 1/5 of a cup of blueberries, just so you know what that looks like. So Finney, so HIP represents the origin of Finney, and Finney is an expansion upon the demonstrated success that was HIP. Now, the Finney grant program was authorized for 4 years with $100 million of federal funding. Finney requires that grantees provide dollar-for-dollar matching. So for every dollar of federal funding that they are applying for, they must be able to document and provide $1 in match grantee funding. That can come from a variety of sources. We can get into that later if there's questions. The eligible kinds of grantees are nonprofits, local and state governmental entities, Indian tribal organizations. And these grantees partner with SNAP authorized retailers, and that is how the incentives are offered. So in fiscal year 2015, $31.5 million in federal grant funds were given to 31 grantees. In fiscal year 16, $16.8 million were given to 27 grantees, and the FY17 awardees are expected to be announced by the end of this month. A good example of one Finney grant project is the AARP Fresh Savings project. It works with farmers markets and Kroger's in the states of Mississippi and Tennessee. They have since expanded to include some other states in that area as well. When a SNAP client uses their EBT card to buy at least $10 of qualifying fruits or vegetables at participating stores, a coupon gets spit out, and that coupon is good for 50% off the next purchase of qualifying fruits or vegetables with a maximum value of $10. Now, just to be clear, qualifying fruit or vegetable basically means any fruit or vegetable that doesn't have added salt, sugar, fat, or oil. And these are the original requirements that were associated with HIP, which have continued to be associated with Finney. So the reach of the Finney program, what you see here is a map that folks at FNS have created to demonstrate all of the active partner retailers participating in Finney grant projects. So anyone can go to this website, and we'll provide the link later, and you can look up and see which retailers near you are offering Finney incentives on fruits and vegetables. In 2015, there were 27 states participating with 900 farmers markets, 50 grocery stores, and 70 other types of stores. Now the number is even higher. As you can see, the majority of participants are farmers markets, but there is representation of other store types, such as grocery stores, corner convenience stores, delivery routes, and others. So the future of Finney. The FY18 Finney Request for Applications, or RFA, is expected to open in October 2017. That RFA is expected to be open until December 2017. and then awards are expected to be announced in June 2018. So there is still one more cycle left with the funding that was provided by the 2014 Farm Bill. So farmers markets and retail food stores can partner with FY18 applicants to participate if they're interested, or they can join existing projects right now. State and local governments, nonprofits, and Indian tribal organizations can apply for an FY18 grant as soon as the RFA is announced in October. And the next Farm Bill, which is expected in the next few years, will determine the future of the Finney grant program. So that is all I have to present, and I think we now open for questions.
So if you do have any questions, I know a few people had problems getting onto the audio, but please feel free to type in the chat box, and we'll be going through all of the questions. Before we get to those, I wanted to go ahead and kind of start the questions with, if, as most of these people on this call are farmers markets, they work for farmers markets or a state agency or someone that partners with farmers markets, what can they do? What would be their first steps in starting an incentive program of any kind, whether it's Finney related or maybe something else at their market?
Sure. So I think the first question obviously is where is it getting funded from? Even in the event of a Finney grant, you need to have matching funds. So securing a third-party source of funding to support an incentive program at your market or any other store type is the first essential step. Now, if you're interested in joining an existing Finney grant, information can be provided about the currently operational Finney grants that are out there. Some of them are still looking to expand. Others may not be. Some of the big ones that you may have heard of are Wholesome Wave, Fair Food Network, AARP Foundation, which we mentioned, and the list goes on. List of those grantees is available on our website, which is linked there in the top right of this slide. And we can provide, obviously, points of contact if folks are interested in trying to find grantees active in their area. We've done a good amount of attempting to partner up, stores looking to participate and the grantees looking to add stores. As for starting your own incentive program, if you are at a farmer's market, obviously it is not necessary to apply for a waiver, as we discussed, because there is a blanket waiver of equal treatment in effect. In that case, it's simply a matter of securing the funding, beginning to operate the incentive program, and then reporting what you're doing to FNS. And that's just all that's required is the existing, whatever report you're required to provide to your funding organization, you provide to FNS, or just a simple notification to your regional office or national office points of contact. I'm running an incentive program on fruits and vegetables.
Great, and that website is also in the chat box, just above Amber Wellington's question, which we will get to here in a minute. So please feel free to follow that link and check out more information about the Finney program. So some of the first questions we received, this first one is from Ken. Are fruits and vegetables the only products that can be incentivized?
So what we've been talking about here are fruits and vegetables. I can tell you that the Finney grant program is especially and exclusively intended to increase the purchase of fruits and vegetables. Any waiver request any equal treatment waiver request will be reviewed and approved or denied on a case-by-case basis on its own merits. Generally speaking, I would say that waiver requests for incentivization of fruit and vegetables have a very good chance of, or a decent chance of approval. But there are a number of concerns. These waivers are only approved when they will improve the administration of SNAP. So if this is, I guess I would need to know more about what you're trying to incentivize outside of fruits and vegetables to really answer with more detail.
Great. So Ken, if you provide that in the chat box, we will come back, circle back to that. So the next question is from asking, can you share more about how to notify FNS and how to send in reports? Specifically, what's the format and what contact information?
So I think we're talking about, I assume, Kate, based on this, that you are a farmer's market that is currently running an incentive program. In this case, what should be done is you should notify whatever regional office or national office points of contact that you already work with of the fact that you're running an incentive program for fruits and vegetables at your farmer's market, and it's simply forward along whatever report you have been providing to your funding organization to those points of contact. If you do not have a point of contact, the friendly folks at national office can serve as that point of contact. So that would be everyone that you're familiar with who've organized these calls. Jackie can provide you with that contact information. But yeah, we'd be happy to provide that.
And if you ever have any questions or are unsure about something, please feel free to email any of us on the SNAP at Farmers Market team, and if we don't know the answer, we will find someone that does. So from Amber Wellington, we're a nonprofit organization that also offers a farmers market. Do we need to partner with someone else to qualify for Finney?
So I need to know more specifically about your organization to answer definitively, but my guess is no. If you are a nonprofit organization, you likely are considered an eligible entity and likely can apply for a Finney grant on your own. What I would encourage you to do is go to our webpage, and you can go directly to look at last year's request for applications, and we can provide that link to you after this session as well if you'd like. The RFA has a very detailed explanation of what it constitutes an eligible entity. This definition is established in the 2014 Farm Bill, as well as some accompanying regulations, and that's a definition that is run by NIFA. The gist of it is, if you are a local or state government, Indian tribal organization, or a nonprofit, you qualify. Usually, food stores don't fit into that category, and that's why I was saying farmers markets and food stores would need to partner with a grantee. But if you're a nonprofit, odds are very good you can apply.
Okay, from Beverly, can you join the HIP program now? I was not clear on that part. I am a farmer's market that has SNAP and a matching program.
So the HIP program, the Healthy Incentives Pilot that I was referring to, was for historical context. That program ran from 2011 to 2012. Now the Massachusetts Department of Transitional Assistance, which is the state agency that ran that pilot, also received a Finney grant more recently, and they are still running a different incarnation of HIP. If you are in Massachusetts and you are interested in getting involved in the Finney grant there, we could provide you with the point of contact at the Massachusetts Department of Transitional Assistance, and we can see if they're interested in adding you as a vendor. They do have a number of farmers markets participating.
And Rebecca had originally asked if we had a continuing resolution, would Finney keep rolling, but then later rephrased it that if a farm bill doesn't pass before all the money is spent, do all farm bill funded programs go dark for a while?
So this is the last year of the FY18 grant cycle is the last cycle that has been funded. After that, the future of the Finney grant program will depend upon new appropriations action. So I think you got your answer.
And then how does FNS inform SNAP recipients regarding the incentive programs available at a specific market once that market has provided FNS with reporting?
So this, I take that this is about incentives offered by farmers markets under the blanket waiver. So I can tell you with Finney, we have a requirement that all of the grantees report all of their participating retailers, whether they're farmers markets or stores or what have you. They report them to us. We incorporate those stores in our map, the big map I showed you, which you can view if you go to the link on the top right there. And that is how we get the word out to clients. With respect to other incentive programs for fruits and vegetables, currently the more information we have about farmers markets offering those incentive programs, the better we can communicate that, and usually to clients. And usually that communication happens through our public-facing website. So if you provide us with that information, we'd be more than happy to give you publicity for that, encourage clients to use these incentive programs that are offered at your farmers markets. I hope that answers that question.
And we will be providing, I just wanted to leave this slide up for a little bit, but on our next slide we do have the contact information for the SNAP at Farmers Market team. If you have any questions at all related to anything with SNAP at Farmers Markets, please feel free to reach out to us. And I will be putting Dan's email in the chat box here in a moment. So if you have any questions, you're not sure who to contact, feel free to reach out to one of us and we will help you figure that out. I'll come back to that one. Can Finney incentives be used with double dollar incentives? Is this intended? Is there any interest in incentivizing that the money earned through the waivers is further spent on healthy foods?
So I'll address the second part, or the last part of your question first. The ideal arrangement for a Finney grant project is that to trigger the incentive, you must buy fruits or vegetables that qualify, and you receive an incentive that is redeemable only for qualifying fruits or vegetables. That being said, there are other allowable models. There's the HIP model, which is you buy fruits or vegetables and then you receive an incentive that can be used on any SNAP-eligible food. The reverse is also possible. You buy any SNAP-eligible food and that triggers an incentive that can only be used on fruits and vegetables. And finally, there are some Finney grant projects where no purchase is required. An example would be the Veggie RX model, where a medical practitioner can prescribe a Veggie RX prescription, which is essentially a coupon that's redeemable for qualifying fruits or vegetables. So all of those are allowable models under Finney, but there is a strong preference to get fruits and vegetables as involved in the equation as possible. The question about using Finney incentives with double dollars, I'm not 100% sure what that means. I guess double dollars sounds like a separate incentive program. Yeah. If you mean double up food bucks, so there's a lot of different terms floating around that may all mean the same thing. Every grantee calls their project a different thing. I have not met a single Finney grantee that calls it a Finney grant program in their official literature. Double up food bucks is a common one, and that is a Finney program, Finney funded program. Market match is another one. Things like that.
And there are a few questions asking about what all you can incentivize. There's one asking if you can incentivize seafood, plants that provide fruits and vegetables.
So I would address the plants that can provide fruits and vegetables. Currently, Finney allows the incentivization of seeds and plants that will yield fruits and vegetables that are edible. Seafood, I think, is a separate issue that we'd have to address. If there's a specific interest in that, that would not be covered by any of the existing programs. That would have to be an individual equal treatment waiver, and that would be approved or denied on a case-by-case basis. So I'd say if you have an interest in incentivizing something outside of the scope of what we've discussed, go ahead and send an email to our team, and it'll be considered by SNS, Retailer Policy and Management Division. Then
Ken had come back with some more information. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by what equipment is needed to print out a voucher. If you can.
So I think what is meant here is, so the AARP Foundation Finney Grant Project works with Kroger's. But that doesn't mean that all Kroger's are participating in that project. There's only a certain number of Kroger's in a certain geographic area. Now, if you are in that geographic area and you know some Kroger's that are not participating, this could be a potential area for expansion, and we can put you in contact with the AARP project director, and that's a possible way to get Finney in your community. But just Kroger's across the country are not participating in the grant project. Every one of these Finney grants has a limited geographic scope. And the other one, did you want to read that? Yeah.
And then our current incentive program matches the same products as authorized for SNAP, and we would prefer to keep this approach to keep admin costs down.
So I take it to mean that your current program provides incentives for any SNAP eligible purchase that's made, and then the incentives are good for, they can be redeemed for fruits and vegetables. And like I said, under Finney, that's allowable. Under the blanket waiver, that's allowable. As long as fruits and vegetables are being incentivized, that's totally fine. And I can understand from an administrative perspective, it is easier to use an existing list that you already have programmed into your system. I would add that if you'd like to limit it to just qualifying fruits or vegetables, there are some grantees and some folks using incentives that have limited it to WIC qualifying fruits and vegetables, which is often also programmed into point-of-sale systems, and that is also allowable. It's a narrower list, obviously.
Patricia comments that the page in the link doesn't list the FY17 awardees.
Yes. So FY17 awardees were expected to be announced earlier in this year. They have yet to be announced. They will be announced by the end of the month. That is the expectation. NIFA will make that announcement as soon as they have cleared everyone. Yeah.
So to be continued on that, how does this fit in with Fresh Bucks matching program for farmers markets?
So again, this is probably another term for the same thing. There's Fresh Bucks, double dollars, double up food bucks, market match dollars, and anything else that you can encounter. It depends on if the organization running Fresh Bucks has received a Finney grant. Oftentimes, there's a nonprofit organization receives a Finney grant, and they partner with several layers of subcontractors, and they use terms like Fresh Bucks, so the people on the ground level don't even know that the money is coming from a Finney grant. But as long as it is incentivizing fruits and vegetables at the point of sale for SNAP recipients, odds are pretty strong that it's a Finney grant or it's an incentive program approved under one of the waivers we've already discussed. I guess if you want more details, I would need to know more about Fresh Bucks.
And are there any similar incentive programs via Finney regarding the FMNP recipients?
That's the Farmers Market Nutrition Program.
That's the WIC program.
That's the WIC. So currently, there is no Finney equivalent for WIC that I am aware of. So I can't really, I don't have any other information on that subject. But we can internally reach out to WIC and see if there is something similar. I'm not aware of it, though.
Can you recommend a provider for the right program? Joel, can you, in the comment box, expand on what you mean by right program and what marketplace? And we will come back to your question. And then, can WIC and FMNP trigger the incentive?
So to be clear, Finney, the Finney grant program is the goal and purpose is to incentivize the purchase of fruits and vegetables by SNAP recipients. So if you were requiring a trigger of the use of WIC benefits, it would be excluding a lot of SNAP recipients and not necessarily limiting it to SNAP recipients. It is possible someone could be a WIC recipient but not a SNAP recipient. So for Finney, really the list of eligible participants should include all SNAP recipients. Now, if you're talking about something that is one of your private incentives that's offered that's allowed under the blanket waiver for farmers markets, that might be possible, and also it would be feasible under an equal treatment waiver, but that would be approved or denied on a case-by-case basis after some conversation with FNS, Retailer Policy and Management Division.
And that is the last question that we have right now. If anyone else has any questions, please, so Judy comments that it was mentioned that Kroger or other grocers have partnered, so reaching out to grocers that have farmers might be a way to expand. That could be a very good idea and something that you can definitely reach out to them and see if they would be willing to do.
And if you're ever looking for points of contact and having trouble, that's an area we might be able to assist you in.
And Joel expanded on our farmers markets was given a 3-year grant, and there are 4 providers to choose from. I have been looking at Market Link, not Marketplace. Thank you for expanding on that.
Joel is talking about for the equipment program. So, Joel, if you can send Jackie your email address information, we'll get back to you on that specifically. This is Patrick, by the way.
So Joel, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can chat offline about your questions, since that seems to be centered more on the equipment program. What are some of the different ways to overcome some of the challenges faced when trying to attract SNAP customers?
I don't know to what extent this group has already heard about the best practices. Okay, so one of the through Finney, one of the things we've been looking at are challenges and best practices to overcome those challenges when offering incentives, and also just overall increasing SNAP redemptions, both at farmers markets and at other types of stores. Those presentations are being prepared for a conference in August, but I think once we have that conference, we'd be more than happy to share those best practices documents with any of the participants on this call. A lot of it's stuff that is probably not a big surprise. Proper signage, proper training for your cashiers, product placement, but I think we can provide some more, some concrete handouts on that subject, since we have been working on it.
And another thing that you can kind of think of and kind of look through is really look at where your market is located and what population your market attracts. And when we talk about where it's located, is it located next to a bus line or a metro line? Can it be easily accessed? Do people normally have to drive to it? That sort of thing, and kind of really thinking about all the different barriers that might prevent SNAP clients from coming to your market. And one of the ways that we hope you really do consider is thinking about incentives, and if your market can provide some incentives, such as, matching up to $5, that if a SNAP client comes and spends $5 on fruits and vegetables at their market, that they get another $5 to spend on more fruits and vegetables, and kind of going from there. And if you ever want to just kind of chat and come up with more strategies, please feel free to reach out. It's something we're going to be talking about a lot in the future, and we're excited to talk about it. So Beverly, remember to say articles in the paper to mention that your market has SNAP. That is a very good idea as well as mentioning transportation access. Chris says affordable housing units through your municipal government can be utilized to do outreach to shoppers as well.
And I would add that some Finney grantees, they don't operate as, this is different than a farmer's market, but there are some Finney grantees that operate more as a delivery route, and they will specifically they will set up shop and process transactions at the affordable housing, as well as Head Start facilities, senior living facilities, and other areas where there's perhaps higher concentrations of SNAP clients, and they improve the convenience factor. I think the transportation and the affordable housing units sort of underscore the biggest obstacle is getting to the market, and ways that can improve that will improve your redemption rates and reach to SNAP recipients.
Carolyn has mentioned we're looking into having WIC help out with our Finney grant, and are considering providing WIC staff vouchers to give to our SNAP eligible WIC participants, and then also making sure the equipment of our farmers markets could also process with WIC fruit and vegetable vouchers to help us expand WIC into farmers markets as well. This is just an idea for others to consider. Amber, they give flyers to the local food pantry to hand out to their clients, letting them know that they take SNAP as well. All very good ideas. And always feel free to either reach out to us, and if you want someone, contact someone either in your regional area or in your state. We may very well have someone that we could put you in contact with to really kind of look at what is specific to your area. I know this webinar and the past 2 webinars that we've had on partnerships and on advertising and marketing have been kind of very much an overview and kind of a higher level, and every market and every state, every region, it's different. So you really need to look at what is unique about your location and your market. We have a few more comments that are all great comments. So Judy would like to know who is at WIC and farmers markets. We were unsuccessful in the past. So Judy, that comment was from Carolyn McGlade. Carolyn, if you have any more information or would be willing to, talk to Judy about this offline, we would be happy to facilitate the exchange of emails. Are there any other comments or questions? Oh, okay. So from Sarah Law, Sustainable Food Center in Austin, Texas also offers WIC at their farmers market. And then Judy has shared her email address, judyharris@utah.gov. Which reminds me, let me share with everyone Daniel's email address. So that is Daniel's address, email address. Please feel free to reach out to him about specifics, especially when it comes to Finney. And it looks like there might be another question from Gary. SNAP benefits can also be used to purchase fruit and vegetable seeds and seedlings, correct?
That is correct, provided that the fruit or vegetables that result from the cultivation of those seeds or seedlings is edible and fit for human consumption. So in general, yeah, tomato plants, tomato seeds, all good. And other plants and seeds.
And Erica has mentioned that this might be a good time to mention that Wholesome Wave has a National Nutrition Incentive Network, which is an email listserv and Google group where people can pose and answer questions. I will make sure to include that information in the follow-up email because that would be great for everyone to have and to use and learn from. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Dan, for taking time out of your day for presenting on incentives and Finney. As always, please feel free to reach out to Patrick, Rachel, myself, and now Dan. If you have any questions, we have another question. Have NSAP in line at market? Oh, sorry. SNAP in line at market, I'm sorry, for 3 months and no one has used in Washington State. In line at markets for 3 months and no one.
They're just saying that they've had authorization but no redemption.
Well, feel free to reach out to us and we will figure out a way, we will figure out what's going on and what we can do to help you start redeeming and start attracting SNAP clients. So thank you again, everyone, and let us know if you have any questions.